So this is going to be free form, no rules, no holds barred, right? We want you guys to be asking us questions. We got a team here, be filtering the questions. But we are going to kick it off now, right to Tom. Okay. So Tom, we're on a journey here, right? We're all on a journey together, whether it's us as a technology provider, you as a real estate coach, team leaders like Barry and Gabe and all of our clients out here. We're always on this macroeconomic journey. Where are we in the cycle? Where are we now? What's important now? What's coming? It's our job, and Tom, your job, to look around the corner to see what not everyone else is seeing. So can you sort of talk about, where we are right now in this sort of macroeconomic environment? What do you see as around the corner that's coming? What do we need to do now to be ready for that?
How much time do we have?
We got 1 hour, baby.
Okay. Cause you guys know, like all my friends out there that I'm seeing people like, hey, what Corona, California, Tom Ferry, Lee Clyde. Like, I was just talking to Tristan, my producer. I have been working from 7 to 11 at night for what feels like since, by the way, Saturday will be the 343rd day of the lockdown in the US.
Well,
I really feel like, and I know everybody out there, like all of you that are watching right now, like, you know how meaningful and impactful you are to your local community. And I understand what you did to not just keep your doors open, but to keep your agents moving forward, but to also keep your community safe, and all the things that every one of you did. Like, I'm beyond grateful, and know that I was working behind the scenes, trying to talk to everybody I could to figure out how we're going to get through this. How are we going to navigate it? What are the right moves? So I'm still kind of working at that pace right now, and I'm not complaining. I freaking love what I do, but I will tell you, like, just in the last, week, I probably talked to 17 people that are not on the Stefan Swanpool top 100, 200 most influential people. And I would argue many of them are more influential because they are like a part of the fabric of our industry, whether they're running a mortgage company, a title company, whether they're a major tech player, or they sold one of their businesses for $1 billion and now they're searching and looking at our industry. What I'm seeing is a bunch of stuff. So short term, this is what everybody should know. There's about 1.5 million agents right now in the US, and it's slightly higher than that number, but let's just call it 1.5 million for easy math. So I was just looking at the data with Pat Vealing, who many of you guys know, who basically has a lot of the broker data around agent productivity from all the MLSs. Would it shock you to hear that in this insane market, 57% of the agents in the US have closed a transaction and 43% have not? Like, that's bonkers to me. So where is the industry going? It's the bifurcation between the 57%. It's those that have chosen to scale and those that have gotten stuck. So what's happening right now is both are selling houses, right? So whether you're on a sales team or you're a team leader or you're the director of marketing, you're the director of ops, the sales manager, right? Inside your group, you're a broker owner, whoever you are, like the stuck agents, even the stuck agents are doing well. They're just out of time, right? They just don't have any time and they're complaining all day long. There's no inventory. The scaling agents are scaling their brand, scaling their trust, they're scaling their marketing, they're scaling their team, they're scaling their transactions, very important right now. They're scaling the listing side of their business, very important right now. And what they're really doing is they're scaling the unscalable. And it's going to shock you guys to hear, because I'm a huge technology guy. I've invested in like 66, so call it 63 tech-related SaaS-based companies. And I will tell you, hands down, the people that are killing it right now are making phone calls. They're calling their database. They're scaling the unscalable. It's me giving out my cell phone number to tens of thousands of people and answering questions all the time, or on Instagram as an example. So I would say, just for fun, before I talk about the future, talk about the now. I would love for every one of you to grab your phone, go to your contacts, right? Whatever phone you're on. And thank you. A bunch of people are now texting me saying, "What's up, coach?" I would go to your contacts. I'm doing it right now. So watch this, guys. If I go down to Z and then the pound sign, I have 5,397 contacts in my phone. I would love to see right now, everybody do this, and then tell me how many contacts you have in your phone. Tell me how many contacts you have in your phone, and just put it in the chat. 820, 810, 8,820, 397. I mean, look at these numbers. Like, here's the truth. Here's the truth. And look, watch how bonkers this is going to be. Like 7,000, 10,000, 1,100, 13,000, 827, 3,400, 82,000. Did I read that correctly? Did somebody add a 0? That is nutso. I love that. So ready for all of you, because there's always a delay with Zoom. You're just maybe punching in right now. Here's what I want you to get. Right now, if you study the U.S. economy, and I don't know how to do it. People from Canada, Mexico, or is it just the U.S.?
Canada and the US.
Okay, so especially for all my Canadian clients, you understand this because if you're in Toronto or you're in Vancouver, the market was supposed to tank 17 years ago, 16 years ago, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, and it still hasn't, right? If you're in Vancouver or Toronto, you see cranes in the sky, but if you're in Alberta and Edmonton, you're still connected to oil, so we know what's going on there. Houston's dealing with some of the same stuff. With that said, what's happening right now, my friends, is everybody is wondering, when is the music going to stop? When is the music going to stop? When are interest rates going to be in the threes? So everyone is looking at the same data. I'm looking at it. You're looking at it. The 10-year treasury is kind of the leading indicator of where we're at. We're at a 2.81% interest rate right now. You know it and I know it. That's the obvious. But everybody's saying by the end of the year, it's going to be in the threes, right? Which is the sign of a healthy economy. That's the good news. But what's going to happen fundamentally when interest rates are at 3.2? Now, we all say, who cares? I bought my first house with an 11% interest rate, right? So like anything with a 3 on it to me is free money. Twos, forget it. Buy as many houses as you can, right? But what's going to happen is the psychology of consumers, it will catch up. We're also dealing with a wave right now. Depending on where you are in the country, we've all seen the migration patterns occur, right? The guy or gal who's sitting at their desk right now, and their desk, by the way, is their dining room table, and they close their Zoom because their boss just said, oh man, gee, you're doing amazing. We've decided to take our 25,000 square foot space, put it down to like 2,500. Everyone is now going to work remote. And in that moment, they close their laptop, their 3, 5, and 7-year-old run by screaming, 2 dogs barking, and their spouse is in a closet on a Zoom session because that's the only way they can do it. And you know what they just said? Baby, we need to sell this house. We need more space, right? And today it almost doesn't matter where they go.
I'm in my kids' room. Look at this.
I know, man.
Man.
I'm with you. I can't even like work in my house. I've got a 93-year-old mother-in-law, a 21-year-old son, my wife, crazy Italians. Like I had to rent. But here's my point. Ready? The music will stop. And by stop, I don't mean what we were predicting back in 2006, looking at the global economic crisis, the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, depending on where you were. It wasn't that, right? It's just, we're going to go back to a normal market. So the thing that I want to stress to everybody is that's coming. So this shouldn't be futuristic. This should be like, if you were like my little brother, Patrick, who is a client and might be on this right now, and he lives in San Diego.
Did he tell you about our hiking story, Tom? Like
yes.
About a month ago?
Yeah. Thanks for the invite, by the way.
We seriously almost didn't make it home.
You guys are nuts. But here's what I say to my little brother. You better be scaling the unscalable right now. You better be calling every single person in your database 2 to 3 times, because that story that I just gave you, that's 10% of the database you have right now. 10% of your database right now is going to continue to be displaced in their work, and they will have the opportunity to live wherever they want. And right now they're saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to be in downtown Dallas. Jackson Hole, Wyoming sounds pretty good. I don't want to be in Newport News, Virginia. I want to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they're picking up and they're moving left and right. And it's at the clip, my friends, about 10% of your database. So if you just think the average consumer moves every 10 years, it's math. If you're not scaling the unscalable, you're not winning right now. So that has nothing to do with the future. The future is we're all going to put chips in our brain from Elon Musk, and I am going to do it. And everything will be unlocked, and we will all be supercomputers, and it's going to be fun.
So we have a client, great, fantastic client, Grant Johnson team, Grant team up in Minnesota. Yeah. They're phenomenal. And I just never forget when he told me the story about, they just went back and they did exactly what you were saying. And they just called their entire database. They just did it. And he was like, it was great. We got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of deals from that. But he's like, Howard, you know what we found out? These were ours. These were our relationships. Yep. But because we didn't do that until now, we lost, like, it was like some absurd number, like just a big number of deals.
Of course.
That should have gone to them, that went to other people, right? So everybody needs to write this down. You've got to revisit your entire database. Yep. But when they're making those calls, Tom, what's the script that's working? How do you start that? What's, when you're training your folks and your team making this, what's working, what's not working?
So I'll give you all of that, but remind me as soon as we're done, because I have all of this stuff documented, scripted, text, email, everything. I'll send it to you, and then you can just like send it to everybody. Is that cool?
Wow. Are you serious?
Right.
You're gonna
Well,
all
otherwise,
of our clients.
yeah. I mean, otherwise, they're going to be writing as fast as they
Oh
can,
my God.
or I'd rather them just get it all and then be able to execute.
Thank
So,
you.
so
That
I'll
is
give you
amazing.
now. Listen, hey, I want you guys to win. So it doesn't do any good sitting inside my laptop. So here,
Everyone in the audience should be chatting in. They're like, like this is incredible,
yeah,
guys. You're about to get
sweet,
all this stuff for
sweet.
free from Tom Ferry himself. It's
So
nuts.
here's the first thing you should do. You ready? So I'd like you to think about a couple of different tools. SMS texting specifically is off the charts right now. Everybody knows that. So what's your text script? I'm going to give you a text script, but you can't send 1,000 people the text. You will be overwhelmed with the results, right? It'll actually hurt your business. So I want you to do 10 a day, but do 10 a day for the rest of the year. You with me on this? So as an example, here's the text script that's crushing right now. It's just simple. Ready? It's like, you know, hey, Howard, checking in. And I'll give you guys the text version of this. Hey, Howard, and the data to show you all the numbers. Hey, Howard, just checking in, thinking about you. Hope you and the fam are doing well. The market is bananas. And you actually put like 7 bananas emojis, right?
Yeah.
Now, before you go, well, what does that mean? Like, well, why? Because when they see the visual of a bunch of bananas, it stops them in their tracks, right? Like, what are all these bananas, right? Like, it's a great visual. It's an old school marketing tact, right? So, hey, Howard, just checking in. You and the family want to let you guys know the market is bananas. Home prices are appreciating left and right. Would you like to know the latest value of your home? Not what Zillow or others will tell you. That's it. And
Say
then,
it, Tom. Say it again. Say it again. Bam. Say it
well,
again.
I'm going to give you the exact script, but like
Okay.
the essence again is just like, I'm texting. I don't care if you've never talked to this person. I treat everybody like they're a pal until they're not. Right. So I'm going to be like, what's up, Kiwi? Checking in, man. Want to let you know the real estate market and home values are going through the roof. Some would even argue the market is bananas, 7 bananas in a row. Rather than going to Zillow and getting a Zestimate, would you like to know the real value of your home as it stands right now? Just send me a text and let me know. That's it. So the clients that are doing this, and I'll show you all the data when you guys get the slides, let's just say it's like 181 people get text over a 4-week period. Very typically 144, 145 people respond. From that, 44 people will raise their hand and say, I would like a CMA on my home. And from that whole thing, you'll find anywhere between 12 to 15 what we call research phase sellers, people that are thinking about doing something in 2 years or less. Now, why is that important, my friends? Everybody's looking for the right now. All the money's in the research phase. All the money's in discovering who are the future listings, the pocket listings, the off-market listings that if you go a little deeper with them and say, at what price would you become a seller today? You can then have that conversation. But what you want is you want to be lined up with listings for the next 2 years, just through this texting strategy. And very typically from this, you'll get 3 listings. You'll get a couple refis for your lender. You'll find a couple investors. It's bonkers. So that's one thing. Everybody should do it. And all my clients that are doing it are all saying the same thing. Like, this is almost a little too easy, but understand earlier when I was acknowledging you all, if you didn't make the calls in March and April and say, Barry, I'm just reaching out, man. How you guys doing? Right? Not a real estate sales call, a human to human. I'm reaching out. How you doing? What's going on? How's your family? How are all the kids? Like, what's happening, man? If you didn't do that, then you probably lost some relationship value, some relationship credit. So the direct mail piece that you send of the just sold is not going to make that up. The email with the video is not going to make that up. So maybe the first one is just, I'm just checking in. Saying on Saturday, it's day 343 since the lockdown, 343 days. How you feeling? How you guys doing? Right? Just check in with people. Now, second thing, if you're going to call, which I strongly recommend, and by the way, FaceTime is better than call. You with me? 2 senses of our 5. Some of you have 6, but I got 5. Like 2 of your 5 senses, video, right? Face-to-face and phone. And here is the question. So this is what I'm obsessed about right now. As a marketer, and I know all of you understand you're in marketing first and your product is real estate. As a marketer, you understand the power of being able to tell a story that no one else is telling. So what if through calls, email, text, you were able to extract all of the answers to one question and then create content around it, storytell around it, blog about it. I mean, it'll be so bonkers when you do this. So here's the question. You ready? Could be an email, but I prefer the phone, right? But you need to capture the data. Here's the question. So, Barry, 343 days into the lockdown, I'm just curious, between COVID, the pandemic, between lockdowns, how is the word home or the way you feel about your home changed in the last 343 days? And you just shut up. And you know what?
Powerful.
I was just talking to one of my clients in New Jersey, broker owner, and I'm like, look, you guys, so she owns like, 7 offices and, thousands of transactions. I'm like, let's send a survey monkey email to every person in our database we've ever sold a home to. How has how you feel about your home changed in the last 343 days since the pandemic and COVID? Right. And then just let them fill in the blank. Howard, all of us, I'm going to go like not super nerdy. I'm going to go basic. Gee, can you imagine just taking all that data, putting it into a word cloud and seeing how people feel, the sentiment and the language that's being used, and then how many blogs you can write about that, videos you can produce, content that you can create. And why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because you're speaking directly into the hearts and minds of your customers with their language, not with your real estate jargon. So that'd be the second thing. The third thing I would say, no, go ahead, man. I'm otherwise, guys,
I was just going to say,
cut me off.
Well, no, this is good. But I was just going to say that, like, when I'm hearing you, I'm thinking that real estate is one of the most emotional transactions.
Right.
It's where you feel safe at night.
Right.
And we've forgotten to kind of connect with people at that level. So it's that was really, if you guys didn't see that, we're going to send it.
Yeah, all of this is in the stuff that I'm going to send you guys. And Tristan, maybe like, I don't know, just before we're done, let's just send them like all this stuff. All right. We'll get it.
A couple of things is you said something that's near and dear to my heart, which is like, I love FaceTime too. Like matter of fact, it's really funny because I FaceTime like all my friends and family all the time, and they never pick up like FaceTime, right? But what's interesting is if I'm texting with my friend,
yep,
and I said, hey, do you mind FT? Like, you mind FT? They're like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But when you come at them with the FaceTime, right? But if you're texting them, which is super safe, and it's going, well, hey, do you mind if like now or later we FaceTime? I want to kind of show you some cool shit, whatever. Like, then they're like, sure, you kind of climbed a little wall of trust a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
with your besties, you should be able to FT.
Yeah.
With your besties. Don't do it with cold people. They'll be like, who are you? Right. So by the way, that texting strategy is bonkers. And that's not new, guys. Like, if you're an old school Tom Ferry client, like, we've been talking texting strategies for 10 years now. Right. We just knew like that was the way. But remember, does anybody else remember Blackberries? Like, that's how long we've been talking email marketing, texting. So emailing, that same thing, is a really good idea. I'm going to give you a couple other talking points, but I want to tell you the third one you might want to look at. We've used this company a bunch, and I'm now forgetting on the gentleman that created it, but you all remember Slide Broadcast? You remember Slide Dial, right? Like, oh, I got 15 offers on this listing. I don't actually want to talk to the agent, so I'm going to just leave them a voicemail message directly into their inbox versus having to actually call. Slide Dial, right? Well, Slide Broadcast allows you to do the same thing. Now, follow all the rules of the do not call list, so you can't be spammy with this, but the people that, are in your database, like, if you just sent them all a message saying, hey, it's Tom Ferry, Banana Real Estate, thinking about you. Hope this finds you well. I'm going to be sending you an email in the next couple of days because I'm looking for how you feel. Here's the question the email is going to say. It's literally going to say, tell me how post-COVID, during COVID, the pandemic, how the feeling of home has changed over the last 343 days. And if you would just take the time to respond to that, it would just mean the world to me. By the way, I'm always here. If you need me, let me know. And then bam, it goes to 10,000 people in 2 seconds. The phone never rings, right into their inbox. Now, heads up, don't send it to all 10,000 at once, because people will start responding to you and then you'll be buried by phone calls. I've literally had people do this. Oh, I did a just sold, and I, hit like 500 people at once, and 80 people called back and said, yeah, if you have a buyer, I'm interested. Right. So be cautious.
Check this out. Jason O'Keefe just said we did slide broadcasting and had 400 callbacks in one day. He just commented on that.
Right. I mean, so and again, I think you said it was David, right? So David, you probably learned, unless you have a really big team that can handle all that inbound, like, you could have the reverse effect that's actually negative, right? They're like, yes, they raise their hand and you're like, oh my God, we can't even get to them all. So I promise you all, go smaller, go smaller. Okay.
Hey, Tom, I want to clarify. I was
Three
going to
little,
clarify
three little confidence scripts. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Otherwise I'll just keep.
I wanted to clarify because I saw a couple of people mentioning on, thanks for the text script. And then we talked about this live broadcast. The text, the bananas, is that just your past clients? Is that to everyone versus you mentioned just sold? That's more like a forum community, right? So it's a different message to different folks, I'm guessing.
So I'm setting this up by saying, so Gabe, anybody that's in their database, they should have some relationship with, right? Now I know they're gonna have some that say Larry 5551212 and they have no idea who it is. I know a bunch of you have a bunch of agents, right, that are inside your database. Carve them out, right? This is just to people in your marketplace, buyers and sellers, people that walk through your old open houses, been to your website, Facebook leads, and everybody else. That's what we're talking about. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then Tom, do you guys ever get into, like, we always try to, I think Barry, like we always geek out a little bit on like getting people to open up and talk about if they could write their script, where would they live in like a year, or where would they live in 6 months?
Yeah.
Aspirational. Yeah. Stuff.
I mean, look, especially right now, right? Right now, I think that's key, but I would actually flip it because every agent out there knows like the single greatest commission check you get is the one that comes in the mail. And hopefully you're getting 3 to 4 of these a month right now. It's called an agent to agent referral check. And all you did was send somebody a client. They took the buyer out. They did the 11 hours of the transaction. They did all that stuff and you got a check for 25%. So, it's an old school methodology we've been talking about forever. You take a map and you outline or you dot like on a Google map or however you want to do it.
Isn't that the new Zillow model, Tom?
100%, man. 100%. No, but different. Like it's an arbitrage of your relationships, right? So instead, like everybody out there, come on, agent to agent referrals right now amongst our base, that's the number 4 listing attraction strategy today. Agent to agent referrals, because the migration patterns that are happening around the world they're off the charts right now. So the smart agent is publishing in email to their database, in a direct mail postcard, a video, multiple pieces of content that are saying, in the last, 18 years of selling homes, I have amassed relationships in every nook and cranny around the world. You know somebody in Australia? I know 3 people in Brisbane. I know 2 in Sydney. I know 1 on the West Coast, and I know a couple down in the wine region, right? And to be able to say to people like, I know these people, so you and I have a relationship. If you know someone that's thinking about buying or selling or moving to any one of these destinations, by all means, reach out and I will personally place you with the best person for your friend or for your family to buy and sell real estate. It's killing it right now.
That's my favorite post in the Ylopo success community.
Yep.
When someone says, hey, who's in Madison, Wisconsin? Because they know it's a Ylopo client. They can trust them. They know they're badass, right? And boom, I love seeing that.
We had to build a referral network for our coaching clients because on the private Facebook pages, they were doing so many agent to agent referrals that it actually stopped the ability to say, hey, can somebody take a look at this marketing piece? Or, hey, I'm working on this. Who's got the best script for? Can somebody give me a checklist? All that stuff was gone because it was just referral. And we just moved it over into a referral network. No, we don't take any referral fees. The agents do that. We just wanted it as a service. And truthfully, we just wanted our Facebook pages back.
Awesome. So let's kind of shift gears, for a little bit. A lot has changed. I mean, I was one of the OGs of like the all-in-one back in 2007, and we've got dozens of these all-in-one clones that are kind of still around, having morphed. And now there's this world that I see where like you used to kind of drive this like Ford Pinto, like nothing against the Ford Pinto or whatever it was, and now you've got like Ylopo, you maybe have this incredible, CRM, right? You've got maybe this incredible analytics thing, and you've got this incredible Tom Ferry coach, right? You've got these things and they're all kind of seamlessly working together.
Okay, but hold on. How is a Pinto brought into that? You lost me at Pinto.
Okay, because you traded in your old Ford Pinto.
Okay, I got it.
Now you've got a parking garage of like 5 Ferraris, right?
All right, that sounds good.
And so talk about how you've seen this evolve, how it changes. What are you guys thinking about? What are your coaches thinking about when you bring on someone who is using something like Ylopo plus another amazing state-of-the-art CRM?
Right.
Let's get into that.
I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts there. I mean, first of all, you guys know I'm Geneva. We work with everybody. We work a lot with you guys. We have a lot of our clients that have switched to you guys over the last year or so. I think the key for the coach is like the unofficial COO of the business. So they need to understand Ylopo. Let's take Bomb. They need to understand Sisu. They need to understand all these pieces and how they connect. And through Zapier and others in API feeds, that you're able to look at a dashboard and actually have like real-time intelligent conversations with a client about, hey, overall, yes, our year-over-year performance is doing great, but look at our Facebook closings versus our Google closings versus our Zillow closings versus our past client closings, and look at our ROI on this, and that. Like, how are we going to like, that's what our coaches are doing these days. And I'm going to say not with every client, because, we're taking on some brand new agents right now that are coming from corporate America, and they're just like, hey, tell me what I need. Like, do I need a website? Everybody's coming after my money, and the coach helps them sort of navigate, hey, here's a really low cost but effective CRM. It's probably the one that your brokerage already has, right? Or your team already has. Just use that. Don't go outside of the sphere. So, we're doing all of that stuff. But what's interesting, and I've not talked about this publicly, but a few of my clients will know, behind the scenes, we're working really hard right now on about 10 different companies to start basically taking all of their leads and directing them to our clients. And the reason why we're doing that is pretty simple. Like, all the data basically says, and all the tests that we've done, and with multiple portals and companies like yours, that basically a coached client converts like 3 to 4% higher than a non-coached client. And I'm not saying that's just my firm. That's just, we all know when you're held accountable to something, you're going to produce a better result, right? When you're tracking and measuring, you're going to produce a better result. So this is not like a shameless promo for me. Any coach that is looking at your data and saying, dude, you haven't followed up on Phil and Phyllis, like, you might want to follow up on that lead. Like, anyone that's doing that, their numbers are going to go up.
I mean, that's like a great example of how it can all work together. So you start coaching with Tom Ferry organization. Now Tom Ferry, his organization, now they're bringing in these lead sources. You're bringing the lead sources, right? We love it, right? Because we're going to auto import them into the Ylopo ecosystem, whatever CRM you're using. And now we're going to we got them. We're going to keep remarketing to them. Raya's going to communicate with them. So not only, are all of the training and the scripts and the dialogues and the coaching going to help you, raise that close percentage, but also all of this badass nurture tech and communication tech, all of it together. And then it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're on Tom Ferry and Ylopo, those lead sources are going to want to come more into this ecosystem because we're closing at higher rates.
Well, and look, I mean, you guys know how I feel about you. We've, I don't know if anybody knows like the backstory when we met in my office, like 3 or 4 years ago. And like, for everybody out there, like, I've invested in like 66 companies, and I'm still kind of mad that I didn't get to invest in your company, like watching how much you guys have made an impact for people. But, with that said, I'll cry in my soup later. Here's the thing though. So I've been doing this for 31 years, and I can remember when 5 million leads were generated online. And today we're talking north of 125 million leads are being generated online. It's no longer about generating a lead, my friends. It is about securing a relationship and providing value and being there in that moment when they close their laptop and say 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 2 dogs and spouse in the, hallway on another Zoom call. And they say, I want to move, that you're the first person that they think about. Because if you're not doing the nurturing, as Jason Pantana, our great coach, the nurture, nudge, if you're not doing that, you're losing at a really high level right now. And it starts first and foremost with your database beyond going to anything else.
And
I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm just, I'm proud of what you guys are doing.
Tom just said something really critical, guys. Being there at the moment. But you don't know when that moment is. So jab, jab, right hook, jab, jab, right hook. You got to be there all the time. And now we have the tech to help you and your team and your brand and your listings be there all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to push go, and it's going to be out there. Right. But now you need to be armed, because X percentage, as Tom says, are going to respond to you. Yep. And now you're going to be armed. You got to be on it. You got to say the right things. You have to do the right things. You can't be overly salesy. You got to be helpful. You got to share information. That's all the detail stuff.
Yeah.
So Barry, I know you had a great question for Tom about, I know you were thinking about, like, we have clients of all shapes and sizes, solo agents, 5-person teams, 50-person teams, 500-person teams. So Barry, you want to ask your question to Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been working on with G and the team to try to revamp training, and I'm obsessing about the fact that, you know, many times we talk to the license holders, but then there's the 20, 10 or 5 agents on a team that we don't get to speak to as much. And I really want them to be a success. And so with that in mind, Tom, one of the things that I'm curious about is, you know, the teams that are reacting to some of the changes with maybe the portals like Zillow's, the realtors and all those, if they're in an environment right now where they are shifting from the portal and now going all in with, say, leads from Google or leads from Facebook, I'm finding when I'm out talking to these users, some of them are having trouble shifting gears and having a different kind of conversation.
Right.
And I'm sure this isn't the first time you've heard that. So I'm curious, what would you say to the Ylopo user that's in the middle of that pivot, and maybe speak to some things they could do?
I'm going to try and be politically correct when I say this. The first thing I'm going to say is congratulations. Second thing I'm going to say is very smart move. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the future of real estate when it comes to portals and what's going to happen there, right? On the brokerage side, iBuying side, and everything else. But at the same time, like, rule number one always is know thy customer. So a lead that comes through Zillow has probably been looking on Zillow for 18 or 19 months, fantasizing about houses. And then finally, like, I turn to Kathy and say, you know, we are going to be in, we might as well go check it out. Like, you know, the kids are out of school, like, let's go. And in that moment, bam, like when you put your information into Zillow, you're looking to talk to someone. That's not the same as Facebook. Facebook is like, oh yeah, look, everyone else is wearing masks. Oh, no one's going to dinner. Yes, the whole world sucks. Oh, that's a cool looking house. Right? They're going from looking at puppies to clicking on curious about the value of their home. So it's context, right? So recognizing that customer, it's the old line, like Jeffrey Gitomer used to say all the time, like, everybody wants to be sold, or everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. So the only sale is going into Crystal Knows or LinkedIn, clicking on Crystal Knows, getting a little vibe on who this person is emotionally, psychologically, how to best communicate with them, how to best connect with them, and then having a conversation. Hey, I noticed you clicked on this, or sending them a video like, hey, Charlie, you clicked on one of my ads on Facebook. You know, my experience is some people that are clicking on that ad want to buy a house right away. Some were just impressed by the home and they were just kind of curious. And I'm totally fine with either one, because as a local real estate professional who's been here in Dallas, Texas for as long as I have, relationships are the only thing that matters, right? Because houses, you know, like houses and transactions, all that stuff, like, I help with that, but it's not my game. So, hey, if I can be of service, I'm not going to call you, you know, you let me know. And you shoot that personal video, and you're going to get an infinitely better response than the old, like, I'm going to call them for 5 straight days until they buy or die, right? Because maybe that Facebook lead doesn't give a shit. Right? Now, if Facebook is at the top of the funnel, Google is more middle of the funnel, right? So Google right now, I've got clients that are converting Google at like 10%.
Yeah.
Right. But it's also a very similar thing. Like, clearly your intent, like, did they click on your local services ad looking for the best agent in Raleigh, North Carolina? Right. Like, all of you, I hope you've done that. And by the way, side note, if you don't have your Google business page done, I'm going to fly to your town and punch you in the head. Like, please, like, you need to defend your brand position as the hyper local expert. We are clearly in a David and Goliath moment right now. And if you don't arm yourself effectively, you are disruptible. So your Google business page, over indexing on your Google reviews right now is super important. Creating content that drives people back to that and to your website and others, your email marketing, your SMS marketing, and making your phone calls. Like, those 6 foundational principles are going to help you win. So Barry, I don't know if I entirely answered your question, but like, Google's closer to Zillow. Facebook is more like they were watching cat videos, then they clicked on your ad.
Right. Okay. So you crushed it. Now, the agents that are listening to you talk and intellectually assent to everything you're saying, but then call that same PPC lead later today. They've been on the webinar, they heard everything you said, and now the person, they go, what kind of house do you want? Just like they would say to the Zillow lead, and they're shut down time after. So how do they internalize what you're saying? What would you recommend?
I see. So look, I'm a storyteller, right? Any storyteller understands the power of storytelling. So I would be like, hey, Barry, Tom Ferry, Banana Real Estate. You clicked on one of my ads. So clearly you got some interest in real estate. How can I help you today? Right. And they're going to be like, well, blah, 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 blah. All I want to do is I want to sense where they're at. Right. And that may be in the form of a text, but generally speaking, a Google is going to want a phone call because they're plugging in their number. Like they want to give you information, even if it's an email. If it's only an email, I'm not going to do anything other than shoot a video. Hey, Barry, Tom Ferry, Banana Real Estate, same thing, super soft, relationship based, here to help. Let me know how I can provide you value. I've got a lot of resources in and outside of my market. You let me know. And I'm going to go softer on them, right? Because it's like the Gary Vaynerchuk, who I've known since like 2007 or 8, right? Had this funny line. He like, look, if you basically treat every lead like you're a 19-year-old dude trying to get laid, like you're offensive. Do you know what I mean? So like turn Barry White on, light a candle, and slow play this. That's how you win. Is that too weird? Am I going to get in
No,
trouble?
it's very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear.
We use that analogy all the time. We talk about going to the bar, right? And if you go up to the bar and you go up 20 people at the bar, like, hey, you want to come home tonight?
Right.
Like you're gonna get 20 slaps in the face. If you have 20 different conversations throughout the night about like, what are your favorite restaurants around, like where's the best sushi here? You start talking about food, right? You're starting, okay, so you're building a relationship,
right?
You build upon that.
Yeah. The other thing too, Howard, because I know, you guys have a lot of smart agents watching this. When they do that exercise where they email, how has COVID and the pandemic and the lockdown changed how you feel about your home? Please tell me everything. Like to be able to say to somebody, we're building a little rapport, where are you at, Barry? What do you think? Hey, Barry, can I let you in a little secret? I emailed 1,187 of my clients. These are men and women that I've been helped buying, selling real estate for the last like 15 years right here in, Ding Dingville. And you know what? I asked them one question. How has COVID, the pandemic over the last 12 months changed how you feel about your home? There were 7 things that they said that really stood out. And I'm just curious, if I shared the 7, would you give me some honest feedback and tell me if it relates to you?
Yeah, that crushes.
Right?
You got game, Tom. You got game.
35,000 hours of coaching later and working with all the best people and brainstorming a lot, it definitely helps. The truth is, I'm a subpar coach in my base of 171 coaches, but like I know who my niche is. So I serve my niche well, and then everybody else serves their niche well.
So let's talk about that. Let's use that as a transition, niche, because we at Ylopo, we've got solo agents, we've got small teams, 3 to 5 agents. We have mid-sized teams, 10 to 30 agents. We work with the biggest teams in the world, literally 600 agents, 1,000 agents.
Yep.
So our clients are all shapes and sizes. We work with the Goliaths, we work with the Davids. How does it work at the Tom Ferry organization? Do you work with one type of client? Do you service everything I just talked about? And if so, how do you work with the solo agent? How do you work with the small team? How do you work with a mid-sized team? Is a nice sized team, 20 people. That's impressive. How do you work with
there's a lot of complexities in a mid-sized team these days. Like that group in my mind is in a lot of trouble right now, but we can get into that later if you want.
Like a very high level, because we're limited time. Like, how do you work with these different constituencies? How does it differ?
Yeah, I mean, so look, we're not a one size fits all shop. Like we're not a one trick pony. So, if you only want to work a certain way, there's probably a coach that can fit like that way and they'll mass produce it for everybody. I coach the CEO of Home Services, right? So Gino Bafari has been a client now. I cold called him at 19. He's been a client for 22 years now, right? So here's a guy that is, he has, 90,000 agents and a mortgage company and a title company. So he's not going to work with the average person, right? I'm the 3rd or 4th coach he's worked with in our community versus say a brand new agent. A brand new agent is going to be identified as a brand new agent and put in a very specific SKU based upon their sales price, their ambition, their business background, their crystal nose profile. All this is going to tell us the type of coach they should work with. And hopefully I have 3 or 4 people that they can interview to figure out who's right for them. Same thing for the scaling up, 5 or less, 10 or less, 80 or less, 1,000 or less, different coaches that are there that can support that person intelligently because they're working with people that are similar. And that's a big part of like,
it's really interesting. So you don't just like I was being very simplistic. Oh, my 1 agent, my 5 agents, my 50 agents, my 500. You're like, no, we look at a lot more. I think what I'm hearing is you look at a lot more than that. You're looking at, are you in a vacation market? Are you in New York City?
Right. What's this?
Variables to make the match of the coach.
How about what's your average sales price? What's your retained commission percentage? Is Redfin in your market? Are iBuyers in your market? Are you under that level of competitive threat? Do we need to get you in alignment with Knock or Easy Knock or one of these companies that can help you with bridge loans or buying houses? Or do you want to buy houses? Are you fixing and flipping? Do you own a mortgage company? Do you own a title company? Do you own an escrow company? If you don't, should you? Let's make sure that we can do all these things, because it's real estate's 17% of the GDP of the US, and it's like 48% of the GDP of Canada. This shit matters, right? So, I don't know. And I'm not, listen, I'm a flavor. Brian Buffini's a flavor. My dad's a flavor. Like every coach is a flavor. And like Ylopo is a flavor, right? Like when people say like, how do I pick the right CRM? I'm like, I don't know. How'd you pick the right car? Right?
You also happen to be chosen the number one flavor in the business. For a fact, you were voted the number one coach in the business.
You're chocolate, dude.
I don't know. What do you mean, dude? I'm strawberry. What are you talking about? Like,
no, dude, you're chocolate.
Well, I did get some comments about Barry White. And if you were actually at my house, which is across the street in Dallas, like I pretty much come home every day to a little John Coltrane on a record player. Like I may be 50, but I could actually be 90 or 17 with my EDM collection as well.
Is anyone seeing this new bromance here between Barry and Tom? This is awesome.
It's a redhead thing, man. Like, look, I'm getting all verklempt.
The podcast happened. All right, let's throw Gabe in here. Gabe, man, I know you must have some good questions for Tom.
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of piggybacks off what him and Barry were talking about. We're talking about having to nurture these leads, where they're at in the funnel and that 1-2 punch and just being ready for them. And I sat in on a Clubhouse you were doing last night, and I loved how you guys were talking about the importance of brand and how you have to balance that with your lead generation coming in. And obviously it's something we do at Ylopo. And I know there's probably a lot of people on here wondering, what is that balance between lead generation versus what I'm spending on brand and how that pays off? So I'd love for you to kind of touch base last night on what you're talking about brand, because I think it's so overlooked in our industry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just dying. French vanilla, Rocky Road, chocolate peanut butter. That's so good. You got Tristan and I just like, oh, yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
You guys
somebody else was like, EDM, that's my jam. All right, you ecstasy taker, you knucklehead. Just playing. You must spend time in the desert in September at the Burn. Anyway.
Diego, Tom, where your brother lives, Cali cream ice cream.
Cali cream ice. Well, I was born and raised a SoCal guy, so I could dig that. But I'm kind of digging Texas now.
All right.
I also want to just point out, this is the first webinar I've been on where somebody mentioned taking somebody home from the bar and ecstasy. I just want to
hey, you guys said it's anything go. I'm just being me, man. Like, check out my podcast. It's
uncensored version. Okay, let's talk about branding.
But let me just say really fast. So Gabe, brand is, look, I would argue today an agent marketing spend should be at least 10% of their estimated gross revenue, right? Minimum. Could be as high as 15% if they're in massive expansion mode. But when you get north of 20, what's happening is the arbitrage just isn't there, right? If you got agents on splits and operating expenses and everything else, like you're cutting into your margin. So 10 to 15%. And I would say very safely, at least 66, call it 2/3 should be on direct response, right? Put money into Facebook, get leads out. Put money into Google, get business out. Send out your direct mail, etc. But 1/3 of it has to be the hiring of your videographer, the content creation team, the team that's pushing you out in the marketplace, the interviews you're doing with the local business owners, the bartenders, the restaurants, like all these people, the I am here in my community. This is how you dig the moat around your business and your brand to compete against the Redfins, the Trulias, the Zillows, and all these other companies, because like those are all push a button, make magic happen. But like, I dig Gabe. Gabe's my guy. Gabe likes the same bar I like. Gabe goes to the same restaurant, the same gym, and he interviewed the owner when they were down and out during the pandemic. Like, I like that guy. So I would say minimum 1/3. Now, when I say that, notice I didn't say traditional ads, right? I didn't say like, big fancy photos of you getting out of a car looking like Ryan Serhant, who, is a pal, I'm not dogging him, but like, not that kind of stuff. I mean, like I'm going to spend money on my industry, in my community. It could be 1/3 of that advertising dollar is like charitable work. It's giving back. It's swag for kids that need it. Like, it's all kinds of that stuff that all of it has to be heartfelt or it's like stupid. So that's my thoughts.
So a couple of people, Tom, they were keying in on, you were talking about small teams. So Amy in New Jersey was like, why is the small mid-sized team in trouble? And then Chip, was like, elaborate on your comment about the small and mid-sized teams, please. We have a team of 8 on our way to 10.
Okay. So I'm not saying this is you, but thank you for bringing this up. So we coach a lot of teams, and because it's a more intimate group, I get a lot of personal interaction with them, and I'll take them in like small groups of like 6 or 8 or 10, and we'll just do like an hour jam session. And here's what I know, like, it's no different from like when I took my business from day one, me, to end of day one, 11 people. The management dynamic changed, the cost structure changed, the profitability changed. But by the end of the year, Howard, and you know this, like end of year one, 17 years ago, I was at like 65 people inside the company. And like everything changes as you add more layers. So here's where the people are getting stuck at the 8 to 10 size. They are still doing the same shit they were doing when they had 2 people on their team and 5 people on their team. What they haven't done is ask themselves, like literally go through and delete every meeting in your calendar and say, now at 10, 12, 15, going to 20, 25 salespeople, what are the meetings I should be having? What are the things I should actually be involved in? Do I really need to be listening to, Zillow calls to check in, or should I now have a sales manager in place that's doing that, or a sales team leader in place that's doing that? I have an assistant, right? He's amazing. She's amazing. But I think at a certain point, I need a director of operations. And do I just give that person a title? Probably not. Or do I hire someone above them and say, now I'm going to get somebody a little more talented, who's got a little more experience. They can do Gantt charts, and they can get into Excel, and they can look at finances, and they have some insight on taxes. Like, that's what happens. Like, I talk to these, like, and here's the worst, the husband and wife team. The wife is the face, and she's just on fire, huge personality, but she's answering got a minute questions all day long from agents. And the husband, who used to work at AT&T, right, who's got a pretty good operator's mind, he's now running the back end. Here's the problem. What do you do when you want to go on vacation when 100% of the executive team just left? You go on vacation and you're on your phone the entire time. That's a stupid business.
Tom,
so what I'm telling people is that's where you have to scale yourself, and you have to scale up. Who's that next leader that I'm going to give shekels to get back freedom and think time?
Tom, let me ask you a question. And by the way, you're going to ultimately make more shekels than what you spend. But
always.
So we're really into, we always, every One Level Success Summit, we talk about going from a team of generalists, chickens running around with their heads cut off, doing all things to all people, to becoming a team of specialists. Tom, It's how you run your company. It's how I run my company. I don't have salespeople doing finance, and I'll have finance people writing code, and I'll have code doing digital marketing, right? Yeah. But the number one question that I get over my journey is, because we're flooding people with opportunities. We're flooding them with new leads. We're flooding them with remarketing and bringing leads back. So their biggest pain point is this lead follow-up, this lead communication, where we started today's discussion. The number one question I get, Tom, I'd love for you to talk about this, is people like, I think I should have an ISA, someone who is literally texting, email, calling, texting, email, calling. I want to do that. I don't know how to do that. Should I do that? Should I just send it to my agents? So can you just help coach us on this? Again, the number one question I get about.
Yeah. So first of all, everybody, you have to understand, like, I come from a different perspective. So when I took over my dad's company and I grew it from like 7 to 45 million, the first thing I did is we said, okay, wait a minute. Marketing needs to just market. And then it was like, brand needs to brand, and direct response needs a direct response. Then I was like, wait a minute. Like, if I'm bringing in these inbound leads, do I really want to just hand them over to a salesperson, or should somebody first, now we would refer to as SDR in business world, ISA, OSA in the real estate world, scrub, qualify, nurture, figure out where they're at, and then get them to the appropriate person, a soft handoff, a booked appointment, et cetera. I've been doing that stuff for 20 years. So the thing I tell people is, look, if you have a hard time training your own salespeople, don't hire ISAs, outsource it, right? Outsource it. There's plenty of companies out there that this is what they specialize in. This is what they're good at. They can scale with you. You can take on 2, 3, 5, 8, 10.
Do you mind giving us a few names of who you trust for the outsourcing of the ISAs?
Look, I love the guys at Verse, right? I think they do an amazing job. And look, they're not just in real estate. I use them. I'm a client. You with me? Like we generate too many leads, right? So we needed that help as well. I've got 30 SDRs, and rather than hiring another 20, why not just send a percentage of the leads over to them and let them do it at a lower cost? If I can get it done at a lower cost and still get the same result, like, hello, like that's a no brainer. So I think Verse is amazing, but there's a lot of them out there. Boomtown's, their company that they acquired, they're killing it. It's all predicated on the same model. My first company that I sold, Geographic Farm, to the guys over at Chime a million years ago, we had 175 salespeople in Alabama. They were a professional telemarketing division. And what they handled was inbound inquiries for like large, like selling, like you want to buy gold, you want to buy silver. You guys know the infomercials I'm referring to, right? Like that's what they did. And Chime was like, we need that. And they just folded it into their business. So there's a lot of people out there doing this, but here's the thing I want you all to get. Don't get too far from the client. Don't get so far from the client that you're running this mega team and none of the actual consumers know who you are. Think about what I'm saying to you right now. Like people are like, why do you give your cell phone out? I'm like, because I want my clients to be able to text me. I want to respond personally to every DM from someone who's like, dude, I saw you on Ylopo today. That's super rad. And I'm like, oh, cool, poop, selfie, right? Like, because relationships at the end of the gate, like this is the whole game. Like when I die, like it's going to be 1970 and hopefully a long time from now, that dash in the middle is a million relationships and conversations and one-on-one moments, hugging, crying, celebrating, and everything else in between. That's the story of my life. So for the big team out there that's listening, please, we outsource these things. We use technology, but man, you don't want to wake up one day and be like, wow, we did 1,100 transactions last year. I didn't sell a single house and I don't know a single client that bought or sold with us. You can scale that too. You can scale that too. You can make that connection. So there's a little more brand loyalty to you as the owner of the team or the leader of the team, not just to your salesperson. You want both.
And then Chip asks, Raya versus ISA, when to pass off to the ISA. And with Chip, what I would say is it's not Raya versus ISA. It's better leveraging your salesperson, your ISA, because imagine if your ISA has to pay attention, like old school, pay attention to all your leads all the time. It's frustrating, right? Most people don't want to talk to you. But imagine a world where your ISA can focus on the Raya conversations. Stop a Raya conversation, pick up a Raya conversation, turn it into an appointment. Priority alerts, someone looked at home for the 4th time, right? That if you every day train your team or your ISA to just focus on the priority alerts and the Raya conversations, they're going to be busy with more down funnel leads, right? So Facebook, yes, they're way upstream, but it's the cheapest lead out there, right? Build your database of relationships. The tech will bring them downstream where they will become Raya conversations and they will become priority alerts. And that's who your ISA focuses on, right? Spend money on the Google pay-per-click so you get some immediate tree, fruit falling off the tree, right? We're happy if you're riding the Zillow thoroughbred and they haven't converted your market to referrals yet and they haven't raised your prices 90% yet. Great. Auto imported into the nurture system. We're cool with that, right? Awesome.
Howard, ready? Howard, and do direct mail, because all my clients that do direct mail kill it.
Bam.
Geographic Farm, yikes campaigns, I got a buyer, there's nothing for sale. All that stuff works, and do your social and do your video and it's no longer a this or that environment. It's all
that's a drop the pen moment. Let me tell you why. Because again, jab, right hook, jab, right hook, being there all the time, opening the mailbox, text message, email, you never know when, right guys? This is the name of the game. And this is how you can crush these big multi-billion-dollar companies, because you don't have to worry about the whole country, guys. You worry about smothering, being there everywhere in your market, direct response, branded advertising, digital door marketing, physical door, like all of it, guys. That's it. And you can do it for sure.
Bam, mic drop.
Okay, other questions. Gee, you haven't said anything. The most brilliant guy in the room. Come on, ask Tom a question. You
guys are just rocking him, and it's awesome. I just want to pick on something that Tom mentioned for a brief second. So Google came out with a new product that I think Tom would agree that like you would be crazy as an agent not to set up on. It's called Google Local Services Ads. And if you type in like realtor in Miami, you'll see exactly what I mean. There's a top row of agents that are featured now. And this is like, if you, I'm sure you guys all want sellers, someone typing in best Miami realtor, chances are they're looking to sell, right? So we are actually helping our clients all set up around this. We're building out some really cool features around it. So if you're interested in what Tom talked about with Google local services ads, just send me a personal email, ge@ylopo.com, and I'll set you up.
Yeah, that first of all, G, I was mentioning you guys offline before we got started. I was talking with these guys. My buddy Raluca Monet, who ran all of Google advertising for the real estate and mortgage, and then ultimately car for a long time. She was one that pinged me like 90 days ago and like, hey, heads up. And then Jason Pantana, who you guys know really well, he's like, we need to get all over this. I'm like, yep. And so we've been pushing all of our clients, like, please be first. Cause eventually there's only going to be 3 or 4 spots and that's it. And then they'll keep raising the prices. But for now, you're right. Gee, it's like, it is as bottom of the funnel as it gets when you're typing in that kind of keyword.
But
I had a new,
there are things that we can do for our clients, tying in, Google My Business, optimization, the 24/7 call center so that you get rewarded because your calls always get answered, constant reviews coming in. There's a lot of things underneath the scene so that you can try to stay on the first page. But ultimately, you're right. Like, there's only going to be a handful. But hey, people can get dropped. They don't answer their phones. You can slot in.
That's right.
So Tom,
I was just going to,
let's talk about your organization a little bit going forward. Like, what do you, as we just rolled into this new year, 2021, did you get a chance to kind of unplug for a little bit and think to yourself, quiet time, like, where do you want to take your company in 21? In a sense, taking your clients with you. How does 21 look a little different than 20? What are you thinking about focusing on for 21?
So any of my longstanding clients that are out there watching, they'll know, like, January at our Elite or next week at our Blueprint event, I kind of say, hey, this is what's going on. This is the future. This is the stuff we got to pay attention to. Being mindful of time, what I'm going to say to this group, because we've covered a lot of ground, and we'll get you guys the slides so you can, get people more listings. The thing I'm telling my clients is, you don't have enough money saved. And they all kind of, and I go, yeah, like, I'm not saying it's 2006, which is the last time I was saying that to people. You don't have enough cash. When people are buying 3 or 4 houses for 2% down and they're appreciating really fast by the time that new construction is built, this is a weird time to be buying real estate. Like, slow down. And what I'm telling my clients is the music's going to stop. And whether it's mid 2022, end of 2022, knock on wood, please God, no, something catastrophic happens this year, you don't have enough cash. Like, when the music stops and there's only so many seats, have enough money to buy a seat. That's the message I'm telling my clients. Like, you need to scale the unscalable. You need to work your database harder than you've ever worked it. And I mean that in a loving way, just more, you need to really be diligent and disciplined on it, and don't get caught up in the frothiness and the ease of hitting enter in the MLS and selling a house. Instead, every listing has to get me 2 or 3 more listing appointments. Everything is about that stuff right now, right? Because it is so immediate. The streets are paved with gold and people are going to miss the opportunity. Like, I'm desperate to get into the heads of every one of my clients to help them understand they haven't saved enough money. I want them all to be wealthy, and not just
you're in cash is king mode.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
I am as well.
Big time. And listen, I got clients that are like texting me and saying, dude, I got like $1 million in cash. Like, I'm like, well, okay, we'll put it in the bond market and get a better return. And, like, I'm not an investment guy, but like, I understand. Right. So I'm like, pay attention, but it's the ones that are like literally spend $1, right? Cause they just made $1.25 and forgot that they own taxes, and it's never $1. It's 150 grand and they owe taxes and they're in trouble. Like, it's too easy right now to get caught. So don't get caught. That's not very motivational, but man, please, I hope you're listening.
Awesome. Well, cool. We just made the turn around the hour right here. Unless any of you guys have like a super important question, I think we're going to kind of end this with the parting shots and parting thoughts. So I am going to start with G, reverse order here. G, any sort of, parting questions or parting thoughts here?
Yeah, we really didn't even get into the marketing piece.
No.
That was awesome. Yeah, a lot of great knowledge here. I'm going to be a bit selfish and just promote 2 things real fast. The first is, as I mentioned, Google local services ads, really important. ge@ylopo.com. Send it to me. I will respond. And the second is on the marketing side, there's like an ocean of stuff that you should be doing to build your listing business. Just like as Tom said, we have a whole webinar on that topic, including new tools and platforms we're releasing on that next Thursday. So watch out for that. We've already gotten 1,300 clients signed up. Love to see that 1,800, 2,000, right? It's going to be really important. So I'll stop there.
2 shameless plugs. Okay. Gabe, parting thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Tom said this twice. I just want to make sure people took note. And if they don't get it, don't understand it, we either need to do this again and focus on that or reach out to him and his team, but scale the unscalable, right? Understand that scaling, because I think it's where teams are failing. And he pointed out the team size. So he mentioned at the beginning and then just a few minutes ago, scale the unscalable. If you don't understand it, don't get it, find somebody, hire somebody that can help you get that. I think that's huge.
Awesome, Gabe. Awesome. Barry?
Well, I posted a picture of these 6, people, and so I would look important because Howard, Tom, and Gabe, you guys are here, and I was like, look at me. And somebody commented and said, "What was your big takeaway?" And it was a really healthy reminder that today that relationships really are important. And I think I've said for years, I automate so much so that I can focus on the important things in my life, right? So I automate the noise so that I can zero in, and that's how my team sells so much. But for me, this was a reminder of, you can't fake caring. You can create systems and things that connect with people, but caring is something that it takes a lot more intentionality. So this was a huge reminder. And Tom, I was impressed, man. You're the real deal. So I really appreciate you pouring into our community. We owe you a huge gratitude. And I know everybody, I'm getting lots of messages of how excited everybody is. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy to help. I mean, listen, your community is like my community. They actually sell a lot of houses, right? So it's, remember 43% of all the agents in the country haven't done a deal yet.
Yeah.
So it's easier to talk to the best. Hey, fellas, I actually have to jump and go do some prep for my big event next week, Blueprint. So I'm going to graciously bow out, but I want to say, to all of you, thank you, and everybody out there, thanks. If you're not following me somewhere on, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, Clubhouse, yada, yada, whatever your favorite channel is, connect with me there and send me a DM. Let me know how I can help. I'm always here to serve.
Before you go, I got to tell the audience, go back to that story you told. G and I were sitting in Tom's office 3 years ago, and literally Tom said, "But guys, I don't understand. Who are you?" In other words, he reeled off all these other companies. How are you different? Who are you?
Yeah.
And G and I failed to answer that question, which is why I thought Tom didn't want to invest with us. I didn't know he did, because I wouldn't have invested with us because we literally failed that question. We drove back. So I want to just thank Tom, because he forever changed who we were, because we really needed to answer that question. And we really started to zig when everyone was zagging and really differentiate. So Tom, I wanted to thank you. I want to thank you for today. The feedback has been incredible about you and everything you've dropped here and the scripts and all that stuff. People are going nuts. So thank you so much for what you did for us back then, what you're doing for us today. We're going to get really tight with you guys in 21. That's my big thing. Get really tight with the Tom Ferry organization, the best in the world. That's what we're going to do. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next webinar. Peace out.
Guys, take care. Go sell some houses. See you guys.
See you later.